after the rejection of the 10 practices, the recital of the Vinaya was held in which 700 monks participated. It was called the Vinaya Sangiti, the recital of the Vinaya, or the Saptsati Sangiti, that is the council of the 700. The Deepvansh and the Mahavansh supplement some details to this description of the Chulvagga. The Deepvansh mentions that on their part, the Vajjian monks convened their own council, which is called the Mahasangiti, the Great Council, in which 10,000 monks participated. According to the Mahavansh, a council of 700 Theras compiled the Dhamma. In the Samantapasadika, the commentary of the Vinaya Pitaka, Buddha Ghosh observes that after the final verdict, the 700 monks got themselves busy with the recital of the Vinaya and the Dhamma and prepared a fresh edition resulting in the Pitakas, Nikayas, Angas and Dhammkhandas. According to the Vinayas of the Sthavirvadins, Mahishaskas, Dharmguptaks and the Hemvatas, the council took place 100 years after the Buddha's death. However, whereas the Sarvastivadin and the Mool Sarvastivadin Vinayas record 110 years, the Mahasangika Vinaya offers no date. This prompted Andre Barrow to conclude that if at all the council was a historic event, it must have been anterior to the schism which separated the first council from the second council. All the Vinayas uniformly agree that the council took place at Vaishali. However, there is disagreement with regard to the venue within Vaishali. According to the Sarvastivadins, Sthavirvadins and Dharmguptaks, Valukka Ram was the venue of the council. However, the Mahasangikas point to Valukka Ram as the dwelling of the guilty monks. But as no place name has been mentioned in the Mahishasak, Mool Sarvastivadin and Hemvat Vinayas, Andre Barrow has suggested that Valukka Ram, the famous ancient monastery of Vaishali, was affixed to some of the Vinaya accounts at a later date. Differences persist among scholars with regard to the interpretation of the 10 practices in terms of their relation to the Vinaya. For instance, Hoffinger has suggested that as the Vinaya code explicitly cites the 10 practices of Vaishali, this fact clearly explains that they had been composed long after the quarrel. As compared to this, W. Pachow remarks, if the date of the second council can be trusted, it is obvious that the Vinaya literature by that time had made rather rapid progress. Unquote. R. O. Frank says that the second council is not only a merely literary construction, it does not even possess any relevant subject matter. Whether such monkish steam as those 10 pure realities was ever let off has little or no importance for the history of Buddhist literature. He goes on to say that as there is no information available except from secondary sources, it is difficult to say if anything at all was done by way of settling the canon. Andre Barrow further points out that those passages that are related to the 10 practices figure only in the recitations of the Sthaviras are inserted there in an artificial manner. The second council of Vaishali, according to Andre Barrow, was instigated by the mere quest for gold and money. Importantly, some Buddhist scholars have indicated that the 10 practices were responsible for the first great schism in Sangha. For instance, Wilhelm Geiger says that the first schism in the Sangha proceeded from Vaishali and that the 10 practices of the Vajrayan monks brought it about. Although the numbering order of the 10 practices is somewhat different in the Vinaya of each school, and there are also minor variations in the wording of these points, they do indeed make a homogeneous appearance. For instance, Hoffinger has traced all the 10 practices in the Pali Patimokkha. However, while talking about the council, the Mahasangika account mentions only the point relating to the possession of gold and silver. Due to this omission of the other 9 practices in the Mahasangik council account, several scholars have tended to consider this school lax, thus holding them culpable with regard to the schism. For example, Demieville writes, quote, "Consequently, even on the single point of discipline which the Mahasangikas mention of their recitation of the Council of Vaishali, their Vinaya turns out to be infinitely more lax than the Pali Vinaya," unquote. However, a careful examination of the available Chinese texts done by Andre Barrow has shown that all 10 practices are in fact included in the Vinaya of the Mool Sangikas. Thus, Barrow feels that the Mahasangikas only speak of a single evil practice related to the Council of Vaishali because it was the only case in the primitive version. He further points out that if the Mahasangikas do not speak of the 9 other practices, this is not because they approved of them, since they implicitly condemn them elsewhere. Consequently, the Mahasangikas cannot in any fashion be identified with the evil monks who practiced them and who the recitation of these Thaviras compared to the Vajjiputtas, guilty of having begged gold and precious objects. The 9 practices of the monks of Vaishali therefore could not have been one of the causes of the schism which separated the Mahasangikas from the Sthaviras, as the Sinhalese chronicles confirm.